everybody. I just want to welcome everybody today. I'm going to be giving a speech about domestic violence and persuade everybody to stop the violence. So I just want to start today by asking everyone here in the audience just two basic questions. Just two questions. You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. You know, you can keep it to yourselves. But how many of you have been a victim of domestic violence? And how many of you have been an aggressor in domestic violence? I'm certain that many of us have been involved in these situations in our lives, whether we're the victim or the aggressor. Believe it or not, men are just as much victims of domestic violence as women. There are typically around 3 million men every year that are victims of domestic violence, and 4 million women. Right? Women like to beat their husbands too, just like men do. Like to beat their wives. So, you know, by the end of this speech, what I hope to do is to persuade everyone to help put a stop to domestic violence. I'm going to educate you today on some of the effects that it has on our children, that they are our future, and we want to stop the violence with them, okay? So in the United States, as I stated, there are over 4 million women that are victims of domestic violence every year, and 3 million men. And 1 out of 4 women will experience this during some course and point in time in their life. 1 out of 3 of those women are going to fall victims to homicide by the hands of their aggressors. And a lot of times that's either their current spouse or maybe an ex. And then 1 out of 14 men are victims of domestic violence. So now, according to Dr. Lenore Walker, there's actually 3 phases to domestic violence, and I gave you the handouts on those. The first phase is the honeymoon phase. That's where you and your spouse are getting along, you're having a great time, and then you have, actually, I'm sorry, that's the last phase. The first phase is the tension building. Maybe, you know, he's really frustrated a lot, and the woman, she's walking on eggshells. And then you have the explosive phase. That's where the violence breaks out. And then you make up. Everybody likes to make up in the end, and that's why a lot of times women or men will stay in the relationship. So the number one question that people ask is, why do women stay in this situation? Why can't you just leave? A lot of times they might have low self-esteem, they're financially dependent, maybe because of their religious beliefs they're staying in that relationship. They think, oh, well, you know, I'm married to him, he's my spouse, according to God, I've got to stay because it's till death do us part. Another reason, maybe the woman's pregnant. Maybe she doesn't want the child to grow up without the father. So the effects of staying in an abusive relationship on an unborn child are a great concern. An unborn child that has a greater chance of growing up with mental defects. They grow up and they become very aggressive. They may they feel low self-esteem growing up. They also, children who witness this, they are known to actually be aggressors as they get older. Girls tend to be victims. They tend to, when they see their mother being abused or they're abused as children, they tend to end up looking for that loss, that missing piece, for that father figure when they get older. And what happens is they end up getting into a relationship with an aggressor 9 out of 10 times because they think that that's normal. So that's how they live. Now, there are ways that we as a society can educate to end violence. First, we need to implement programs into our schools to educate our children on the damaging effects of domestic violence. We also need to provide programs for men and women who are aggressors. We need to, locking them up and putting them in prison, that's really not going to help. Because when you go into prison, you're aggressive in there too, or you're submissive, you're still being taken advantage of, you're still doing something. You need to have an educational program. You need to, if you feel the urge to be violent, then you need to walk away. Just walk away. Call the National Domestic Victims Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. So in short, domestic violence affects 3 million men and 4 million women every year. Today we've been informed on the staggering statistics of this type of violence on our children and on us as a society. So remember to call the Domestic Violence Hotline if you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence. Thank you.